it up one more time for me. Go ahead.
I hate when people
Keep
argue
sighing.
over people's points. Now what?
Okay. Go zoom in where you were when you first initially started writing, when you first initially started reading.
She's so demanding.
So Uthman sent a message of Hafsa saying, send us the manuscripts of the Quran so that way we may complete the Quranic material in perfect copies. Right? Okay, 1 second. Did Hafsa have the original Quran?
Supposedly.
Okay, supposedly. Okay, I will rephrase that for you. She did. And therefore, they sent that original copy. That way they can copy it. The whole reason why they were burned was because they were including different things into those other Qur'ans.
So
you're twisting what you're literally reading.
So then they weren't perfect then. Because they have other things added to it.
Which is the reason why they sent a message for Hafsa to send it to him.
So then they weren't perfect if other things were added to it.
No, you're twisting it.
No, I'm only going off by what you're saying.
Listen, you cannot sit there and talk about a small, like a time in history without talking about before and then after.
I'm taking your point and arguing with it, right? So they had other things added to it, so then it wasn't perfect.
I genuinely, I don't like the back and forth and the constant.
So then why are you here?
Why are you having this live?
To ask Muslims why they aren't Christian.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can do the same. And I'm explaining it to you, but you do not want to listen.
So then go do the same.
Ruba, look. We have these lives to have a full discussion. You're going to bring a point, and it may be a good solid point, but we're going to examine what you said and we're going to use your logic and your reasoning for what you said, So you're saying that Hafsa had the original Quran, and the reason why this was going on, that the other copies were burned, is because basically those other, people were adding to the Quran things that didn't belong or taking away. It wasn't correct, right? So that's why he had the others burned, right?
Do you know the time frame that you are talking about this hadith? Yes or no?
Yes.
That doesn't matter.
It does matter. That's the whole point.
It's still Sahih, isn't it? It's authentic.
So let's stay with the root of the matter.
So 1 second.
Wait,
you said that you know. You
the root,
good God logic, whatever your name is. You said that you know.
Respectfully. The root of the matter is that this hadith gives us a recollection of where there were different Qurans that they had burned because they were incorrect. And so Uthman had to make sure that everyone had the correct Quran, right? So he had Hafsa send the original copy. They made copies of that one, rewrote that one, and sent those copies out to the rest and burned the others, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Because they're trying to preserve it.
Right. I know. I understand. So look, I only brought this point up because the previous guest before you tried to make an argument that the Bible has been rewritten and so therefore cannot be trusted. And so we brought this point up to show how that's inconsistent, because if that were the case, if rewriting or making copies means that the Bible is corrupted, then this would mean that the Quran is corrupted because it was rewritten and made of copies. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I understand when you talk about it with that specific point. I understand that for Christianity, they state that it is not rewritten; it is translated in different translations. So therefore, those translations have different meanings. And what does it mean to translate something?
Well, yeah. So you just move from one language to another,
right?
So you'll have different.
I have a question for you.
Like
Let's say there is a word.
Not corrupted or anything. We can agree. But can we?
Question.
Yeah. Before you ask this, let's just solidify this point before we move on. Okay.
Go for it.
So we can agree that rewriting or making copies does not mean that the text is corrupted, right? We can agree there, because that would be silly to say that, right?
If it is the same as the original, then no. If they rewrite it, but something is included or something is excluded, then that means that it is corrupt.
Okay, agreed.
Now, my question to you, okay? The original language of the Bible, right? Okay. When you say that something is translated, can one word have multiple different meanings in different languages?
Yes.
Okay, then we're on the same page, right? But my question to you is, why is it that when I meet Christians, or when I want to talk to Christians about their religion, right? There are core values that in Christianity or in the original text that states that Christians should do A, B, C, D, E, and shouldn't do A, B, C, D, E, right? A religion is kind of like a guideline, or it's a way of life, where God tells you, hey, do this and don't do this. Am I correct? Isn't that the way of living a meaningful life?
That's included when you're just obeying God and his guidelines that he has for you. So I'm following you.
Okay, so why is it, and this is my question as a Muslim to you Christians, why is it that if you put 20 Christians in a room, and I'm going to tell you that all 20 of these Christians are very well versed, are very well spoken, are very knowledgeable about their specific books and the translations and yada, 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 right? You put 20 people in this room and you ask them, can you do this? 5 will say yes, 5 will say no. Can you do this? 5 will say yes, 5 will say no. For example, in Christianity, aren't women supposed to cover and dress modestly?
Yes.
Okay. Do they do so?
They're not. Yeah.
Now I understand doing an act is different.
Let me answer you, please. So no, in Christianity, you do dress modestly. If you mean cover up as in your clothing, yes. If you're talking about covering up as in your head, no, that's not a requirement.
Okay, so if you
want to talk about veiling women who interpret scripture that way, that's perfectly fine. But the way that they interpret it is during prayer, or when they're in the church. That's when they veil.
And I also wanted to say something else too, because if you put,
I didn't understand.
If you put 20 people, let's say you put 20 Christians in a room and they disagree on something, that doesn't mean that there's falsehood in the religion or anything like that. Because I can say the same thing about Islam. I could put 20 Muslims in a room and ask them, where is Allah? And they would all disagree. Some would say above the throne. Some would say on the throne. Some would say around the throne. They would all disagree on this. Or if music is haram, some would say yes, yes, music is haram. Some would say, oh, as long as it's positive, you can do it. Some would say, no, it's not haram at all. You have different people who give different opinions on a lot of things that doesn't tell falsehood.
Okay, I understand, right? And that's based on how deep you are in the religion, right?
It could be. You can all be theologians.
No, I'm sorry.
Still be deep.
If you put 20 Muslims in a room and you talk about the fundamentals of Islam and what the book clearly tells you is a yes and a no, there's no gray. It's black and white. But what I'm seeing is that in Christianity, there's a lot of gray that you created. Here's another question.
So,
I don't think you're being fair, Ruba. You're not being fair in your critique here. Because again, I do lives all the time, just like Light does. And I have this gag that I do where when Muslims start arguing with each other, I'll bring out popcorn. Because in the middle of a conversation, when they're debating me, they end up debating each other because they're disagreeing on something that's supposed to be clear about Allah or about Muhammad and stuff like that. And so it's a little gag that I do. I bring out popcorn and I start eating the popcorn. But I have so many examples of those. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go back into my lives and just make a collage of it because it's funny. where Muslims start fighting each other on a Christian platform over something that's supposed to be basic. It happens so often. It'll happen in Christianity where people disagree.
It just happened yesterday too, didn't it?
It just happened. I had a whole entire, for an hour and a half, they were going at it.
Right.
I just let them cook, you know?
Okay.
So, but here's my thing. I'm being fair to this and saying this happens in Christianity too. Christians will disagree on things, and they'll do it on a platform. It happens in Islam too. Like, it happens in all types of worldviews. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't think that should be a judgment against the religion as a whole or a reflection of it. I just don't think so.
Exactly. The people's actions and the people's beliefs, or the way that people interpret the scriptures or interpret the religion and what it says, that shouldn't be what makes you critique the religion itself. Like, what the religion itself says, because many people go off by a subjective interpretation, a subjective understanding of what the scriptures or what they believe say, right? Christians do the same. So now actually critique what the religion says, not the interpretation that people give off to it. Critique what the religion says, not what the people say about it, what the religion actually says.
Right. So right now for Christians, let's say if I wanted tomorrow wake up and decide to be a Christian, okay? What book is it that I need to pick up and read to fully understand the religion? Which Bible?
The Bible.
Which
the
one?
Bible. There's only one Bible.
Which Bible?
There is only one Bible. Now, if you're talking about the translations, then I'm fine with you picking up any translations as long as this is not the NWT. But I'm fine with you picking up any translation. You can even go for the NIV if you're like a new Christian. Now, just because there are translations doesn't mean that there are different Bibles, right? If you're saying that there are different Bibles, then you're saying that there is different meanings to each Bible. Every single Bible that you have, that we have today, they all say the same thing. None of them are going to differ in meaning.
So if I pick up the translations, or 4 or 5 different translations, and I read every single one of those translations, it's all going to say the same thing?
They're going to say that they're going to give you the same meaning and the same understanding for every single verse that you have right there. Because if you want to argue against that, give me 2 different translations with the same verse with 2 different meanings.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Is there an app that I can download that is going to provide me with the original Bible and the translations that I can read?
Yeah, Bible Hub.
Cool.
Bible Hub is a good app.
I'm gonna download it, and I'm gonna read it tonight and tomorrow. And if you go on this live within the next week, I'm gonna come back up and challenge you on that.
Okay.
Follow us both.
Yeah, follow Avery, follow me.
Which one's Avery? Is that godlogic?
Yeah, that's me. Yes.
Follow Talia if you want to. I don't know what Talia's doing up here, just like sitting there.
I followed you both.
All right.